Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we've had the completion of the Democratic candidates in their first efforts to debate and convince you, the people of the United States of America, of whom would be the best to represent you in the general election. Yesterday we had 10. Tonight we had 10 others. And those of you who are interested, you've listened to all 20. And I'm sure you're formulating, based upon what your interests are, who would be best representative of that which you have concluded. I initially, as yesterday after the first debate, I did a presentation and I posted it. And tonight, before this debate, I did another one prior to the debate. And now that the debates are over, I have been instructed to come before you and give you a message. First of all, I'd like to say, ladies and gentlemen, that the debates were as you expected them to be, or should I say as I expected them to be. And you, the people, heard some good and great ideas. There is no doubt. But I would also like to say to you that out of all the ideas you heard, and they were different and some of them were similar, there was not one plan that was mentioned that would work to achieve the things that each of you want, which are peace and prosperity and freedom and joy of life and the fulfillment of your dreams. The only plan that could be made available for that would have to come from the one who designed all of the resources and you and your aspirations and your inalienable rights, and they were left out. I have a wonderful message to give you today, and it is a message that you've heard me say many times, that I am an agent for God. I'm an agent for love. I'm here because I was put here before you. I've been trained and given a lot of resource information to justify my being here. But what I have to say to you today, you might not like it, but it is the truth. The Heavenly Father wants you to know that you, the American people, are full of it. You are not genuinely real. Yes, many of you are good, but your goodness is not good enough. The goodness that you display is goodness that was learned in darkness and not the goodness of light. And so, the truth has got to be made known to you. You don't really care about one another. Even today, you're only concerned about yourselves and your particular interest. And the candidates that were talking to you got their particular interest, and they wanted to mention facts that they would broaden themselves to include those that are not so eminent to them. So what we have, ladies and gentlemen, is a truth that is being made, and you must listen. Here we are today, after this debate, and it's strange that I would have to remind you, and yet I was given the task to remind you that you do not know the real love. Now, why would I say that to you? What would give me confidence and courage that I could come here and stand before you and say that God has given me this to tell you? Well, it's a simple matter, and I'd like to really share it with you. On 3 different occasions when I was a young man, I sought the office of President of the United States. 3 different occasions. And what did I speak of? I spoke of God's plan for your experiencing heaven here on earth, your paradise. On one occasion, I sought to be governor, and I carried forward the same proposals, the same platform. On 2 occasions, I sought after the office of United States Senator from the state of Minnesota. What did I talk about? I talked about the same things that God says would produce the peace, the prosperity, the freedom, the joy, and the fulfillment of your dreams. Twice I sought the office of mayor in 2 different cities in the state of Minnesota. Champion the same concerns. And I did not get enough support from the government, from the citizens, the average Joe Blow citizens, or the church. I didn't get enough support to walk out of the door. And many of you might wonder why. Well, the conclusion as we see it is that, first of all, I represented a black man. And in your psyche, a black man can't possibly do anything like that or be connected with anything like that. It wasn't the message, it was the black man you saw. And I wasn't just black. I didn't have any money. So how could I talk about changing the world? It wasn't me, it was the message. The message was not about me changing the world, it was about you changing the world. And so since I did not come as you expected the truth to come, I was rejected, the messenger of God's wonderful, wonderful message. And so I had to leave the scene. But God was watching you. A few years have passed, and another man came before you. He wasn't a black man, he was a white man. He had a lot of money. He said he had more than I think he had, but you were convinced that he had a lot of money. He stood before you with his big plane, and he sat up and he told you all kinds of lies. But he was white, he had money, and he sounded like he knew what he was talking about. You ate him up. And all of a sudden, you have come from this poor man who has no money but was championing God's plan to a guy who you believed in. See, this is what your system, this is what America has produced over all of these generations. A white man and money can stand up. A black man and no money can stand down. Forget the message. And so we see a Donald Trump doing everything that is as despicable as it can possibly be. And the truth of the matter is that you are ashamed of it. Many of you are. But what does that basically mean? It means this. Now, let me look at a note. I made a note here. I want to say something to you. Well, here's the first thing that I saw when I looked down at my notes. I saw that this man, he wants a second term. Yes, Donald Trump wants a second term. All of what you've got, all of what he's shown you, he wants a second term. And the Democrats, they want to counter that and offer you something else, more of the same that you've had your whole life. So what happens? You have a choice to make. You see, Donald Trump represents evil. Definitely, there's no doubt about it. He represents evil. And based upon the response that those who were here before Donald Trump in relationship to the message that the Heavenly Father sent to you, you rejected that totally. So what does that mean? That means that you represent evil as well. You're not as bad as Donald Trump, but you represent evil nonetheless. So you're in an awkward position right now. You got a choice to make. You have to choose either Donald Trump and all of his evilness and all the ugliness and all of the dangerous things that he represents, or going back to someone that is not as dangerous and as evil as Donald Trump. All of those connected together. Or take a chance on the message that God has given you. Now, for some of you who probably want to hear that message, if you do, go back to the 2 past presentations, the 2 past posts, one before the first, one after the first debate, and one before the second debate. And in there, I re-articulated that message, that wonderful message of the passage to your dreams come true, where you got the peace, where you got the prosperity and the freedom and the joy of life. God has given it to you again. But what will you do? The choice is yours. Now, if Donald Trump, white, with a lot of money, had been a good man, you would have still voted for him. And he would have accomplished a lot. But the system would not have changed. Those who are suffering would still be suffering. And it wouldn't have been much better at all than what it is before Donald Trump got there. Why? Because that's the way of man. That's the way of ignorance. That's the way of selfishness. That's the way of what man represents without God. So I've given you an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. I've spoken to you about God's plan. If you're interested, go back and check it out. I've shared with you right here during this moment that God is saying to you that you're basically fake. And I told you who he's talking about. Those that are in government, that represents government, don't care about people. You got your own special and selfish interests. The general public don't care about people. You got your own general and special interests. And those of you who are in the church who represent religion, you got the same thing. You got your own interests and your selfish purposes. And that which is required to bring about a coming together, a uniting together, a concern for one another that's essential as far as fixing this nation by fixing yourselves, it's dead in you. So I've given you this information, and I'm not going to tell you what to do. You do what is you. But God knows who you are, and you're going to have to face whatever decision you make. You can keep Trump in if you want to. You can go back and take a Democrat if you want to. Or you can turn to God if you want to. I turn to God. That's why I'm standing here telling you this. I know you don't like it. I know every last one of you are pissed. Especially, I'm a black man. I'm still that black man that when I came to your door, you told me, oh, I'm a Democrat. I'm still that black man with no money. When I knocked on your door, you said, well, we don't want to talk to you. We don't want your flyer. Yeah, I'm that same guy. But I'm the guy that was sent with the message that would bring you your joy. So the choice is still yours. God is not going to force you to do one dead blasted thing, but the law will be enforced that says you shall reap what you sow, and the seed that you plant determines the fruit that you're going to get. So I'll have to do like the debates say, well, it's time to go now, and you have a wonderful night, and hopefully make the right decision so you can have a wonderful life. Goodbye.